You're supposed to start now. What would be the forum?
Is everybody logged in?
All right, 8:32 will convene Mendocino County Board of Retirement. And the first thing on your agenda is Pledge Allegiance. Patrick, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next thing on the agenda is public comment.
There's no public.
At this early point in the morning, we're not having any public at the moment. So we'll go on to the consent calendar, and on the consent calendar is the minutes of June 20th, and June 20th retirement report, along with the monthly preliminary financial report. Any comments on the consent calendar?
Oh, I have one on the cash flow analysis.
Okay.
I just have a question. There's the investment expense, and year-to-date it's $662,288. I was just wondering, maybe I haven't been paying attention what that's.
So the investment expense, and I'm having difficulty connecting, so I can't look at exactly what you're saying. But we've started paying more of our investment managers directly rather than having those fees netted out of the fund.
Right.
So we think that's a good approach for transparency purposes, because it doesn't matter, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we write a check or they net it out, it's the same expense, but I like seeing it. I think that's better for us.
Yeah.
So we've moved in the direction with the recent investment managers that we've hired where they bill us directly, and that's why you're seeing an increase in directly billed numbers there.
Okay.
So,
Totally makes sense. Thanks.
absolutely.
Any other comments on the consent calendar? If not, then they'll be deemed approved by unanimous consent. Next thing is we have closed session. We have public employee performance evaluation retirement administrator and conference with labor negotiators, Geraldine Harris, Sherry Scottmeyer, Catherine Smith, Patrick Sullivan regarding the negotiation with the retirement administrator. Is there anything else we need to say to go into closed session?
Nope.
Doing that right away.
Okay, so at 10:33, we're going to report out a closed session, and we had two matters. One was performance evaluation retirement administrator. We concluded that, finished that work, and then we also gave direction to our labor negotiators regarding the retirement administrator. So that's our report out of closed session. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Is this when we get the pizza and donuts?
There are refreshments in the kitchen.
2 a.m. We're going to resume the Mendocino County Retirement Association board, and the next thing on our item on our agenda is the discussion of possible action regarding administrative hearing policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have a draft administrative hearings policy for your consideration. Legal counsel and I worked on this. We feel it's important that we have a policy like this so that our members have an avenue if they wish to appeal a decision other than disabilities. This document outlines what that process looks like. You may recall that some time ago, may have been a year or more ago, we had a member that wished to speak to the board about their retirement benefits, and we didn't have a policy like this. So we think it's appropriate for this board to have a policy that outlines what an administrative appeal looks like, and that's what we've tried to do here. With that, I'd be happy to make Jeff answer any hard questions.
Looks good, very thorough.
I'm assuming this is an industry standard. This policy is
So,
fair.
not unlike other areas in the 37 Act and the systems, there's different flavors of this. And I think we were trying to One of the purposes behind it was to have kind of a one-size-fits-all, so that it would address all issues other than disability retirement. And so I think it takes the best of what we've seen that's out there, and some systems still don't have any policy. And I guess they deal with it on a case-by-case basis.
I have a question about, it was D3, and it was just, after the appeal, the administrator determines whether it goes to the board for a hearing, or whether it goes to a hearing officer. I think, is that what it's getting at?
Yes.
Okay, so I was just curious what costs are associated with the hearing officer. Is that our goal? We want to avoid it going to the hearing officer if we can easily hear it as a board? Or?
So, no, I don't think cost was the determinative factor. I think that there will be, or could be, some matters where there are factual disputes that require more of a formal hearing where there are witnesses. And I could give you some examples if you're interested, and matters that really don't have factual disputes but are simply interpretations of the law can come straight to the board and have a more streamlined process. If you have going to the hearing officer, it's going to take months before you get a hearing date, and
Okay.
so I think it'll depend on what the underlying issue is.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Jared, do you have a question?
Mine was with C1, within 14 days of receiving written notice from MCERA. We're talking about people who are already retired or are in the process, correct?
Not necessarily. This could be any, either retired or active member could be appealing an issue.
Okay, then my only question is, 14 days,
Vacation.
yeah, retired folks are off visiting the grandkids in Portland and come back to a stack of mail, and they have something that's that important and a period of time that seems relatively short. I wonder if you might consider making it 30 days.
Or do it by registered mail and state it in here.
Yeah, but I know it would be by registered mail, but if you weren't there to get your registered mail, then you would have lost your opportunity.
Or unless
Well-
extended by extenuating circumstances or something. Just give ourselves.
I think it's implied that, I mean, I don't think it's an absolute with no exceptions under any circumstances. I
Okay.
think the administrator has discretion.
Okay? That's all I wanted to know.
It's good. You're asking good questions. In fact, the one area that Pat asked was actually the area that I had highlighted here, 'cause
Mm.
I was anticipating possible questions.
It must have been that law school training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't specify, but I assume by G1B, where it says required transcript, I assume they'll be recorded in some fashion, a hearing,
Yes.
so that the transcript can be provided if necessary, but it won't be unless somebody requests it.
So, does someone want to make a motion?
Um,
Motion that we approve it as
I'll
presented.
second that. Yep, adopted.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And then on to item number 5, Jeff, did you, which is the retirement administrator charter. I think we, if I could point this out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna pull that item for today.
Okay. Okay, then we're on to item number 6, which is discussion of possible action regarding amendments to the MCERA strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have the strategic plan before you with some proposed changes to both the introductory text, the vision statement, and the mission statement. Those are merely discussion items or proposals for consideration. I'd be happy to hear your feedback or make any changes that you suggest.
It was just that one page, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I'm very much a fan of the one-page strategic plan.
I think it was very clever how you deleted the year 2016 from the title. That way it's always current.
Little tongue in cheek. I move that we adopt the strategic plan as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, number 7, which is discussion and possible action regarding the board work plan, which is also on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have the work plan with updates, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm struggling with technology at the moment, so I'm not able to pull up the documents as we go. But I'd be happy to answer any questions and talk about any of the projects on there.
What does it take to change from a check to a happy face?
Completion is a check. A
Okay.
happy face is something that we don't complete. We just, either it's a project that we're continuing and will always continue, such as the board training item, that will always stay on there. And as long as we're making progress on that, it stays a happy face. But if it has a completion, we're done, then it gets a check mark.
Do we
And-
need a policy that says that?
The happy face policy.
How about the red print? What is that?
Yeah.
So the items in red text are new. They're changes from the last time you saw this. And I do that to help identify the items that have changed, because I know it's been 3 months since we've looked at this, and I want to make sure you are aware of those as we go through them.
I like all the green.
What's the next thing?
So the business continuity plan does have a smiley face, even though we're a few weeks past the deadline, because that is very, very close to being done. Last time we discussed this, it was a neutral face, because I was struggling with some roadblock issues on getting that done. I have overcome most of those. I have one outstanding item on that we'll discuss on a subsequent agenda item today, that I think will get us there where we can finish that up pretty quickly. So,
So the 2018 work plan is in our agenda packet every 3 months?
Yes.
And now the 2016-18 accomplishments, is that also every, or just, you're just putting it now?
so we don't put that out there every quarter, because a lot of times it's the same thing from quarter to quarter, but I do like to share it with you at least once a year and sometimes every other quarter as we
Round
add to
review
it.
time.
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
It's an extensive list.
We have accomplished quite a bit in the past. This covers 2016, 17, and 18. So yeah, we've been busy. You've been busy.
Okay,
Come
so
on, James, no modesty here.
we received it. Do we need a motion for that, or we just receive it?
I don't believe it needs approval or anything like that. It's just a.
Okay, all right, great. So now we're on to discussion possible action regarding the pension goal secure business continuity services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have this material in your packet with a cover memo explaining the issue and trying to anticipate the questions you might have. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or talk about how this fits in with our overall business continuity plan or anything else at your pleasure.
Do you know of other systems using this or anything? Just
I do. There are other systems, and there's a significant difference between plans that use pension gold. You either fall on the self-hosted side or the LRS hosted side. We are on the LRS hosted side, so our system, if you will, is We don't have it on any servers here. It's all on the servers at LRS in Springfield, Illinois. We access it through a web portal, and there are, I know a number of plans that on the self-hosted side that use Pension Gold Secure, although it looks a little different than this proposal for us. It's more expensive if you self-host to use, to have them as the PG Secure. If you're on the LRS hosted side, it's much easier for them to deal with providing that backup, so it's less expensive. I know Sonoma County, they're on the self-hosted side, but they do use PG Secure as a backup plan,
Okay.
so.
Well, it's something, you know, that we need to, a curve we need to be ahead of.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just talking in general about the business continuity plan, and that will not be coming to the board. It's not something the board should approve, in my opinion. You know, it's an operational document that we're going to use. And not that we're hiding it, but I don't think we want to advertise what our plans are in the event we need to activate that plan. But the basics of our plan, with having Pension Gold as hosted in Illinois, if something happens, depending on whether it's a physical asset disruption or a human asset disruption, our primary backup plan is moving towards telework. So we're in the process now of getting 2 more laptops so that every employee of the association has a laptop that is dedicated for work, and they will be able to log in from anywhere they have internet access and do their work, whether it be in Ukiah or anywhere else. So if something happens to the building over the weekend, when we're notified, we let employees know the building's gone. For the next 2 days, you're going to be working from home with your laptop. And stay tuned, we'll keep you advised as we get more information. We'll work with the county. Part of their service level agreement with us is that they would help us in the event we activate our business continuity plan, find a new temporary facility. Whether our building is gone and it's going to take a while to get it back, or if it's just uninhabitable for a period of time. So primary backup is going to be the telework and finding an alternate temporary location. And then we have other backups behind that. Pension Gold Secure is the penultimate backup. So if something happens and Mendocino County has no internet for an extended period, for whatever reason, I can't even envision that scenario, but if that were to happen, we would activate and go to Pension Gold Secure, and LRS would do the work that needs to be done to ensure that we keep processing benefits, including checks. We could also, if need be, send up to 2 employees to Springfield to do the work from there. That's included in the contract here.
Beautiful.
What's that?
It's beautiful.
The ultimate backup that we rely on is if there's nothing else we can do, but we need to get benefits out the door, we will contact the county's custodial bank and direct them to process the file from last month's retirement benefits. And that will take care of all the ACH payments. And there will be cleanup to do after that, and anyone that's a new retiree would not be included in that, and anyone receiving a check is not included in that. But that's our absolute, if everything else goes wrong and we can't do anything, that's the ultimate backstop to get 98% of our retirement benefits out the door on time. So
It's basically insurance policy
Yes.
for $6,000
Yes.
a year.
Yes. And not only are they able to be that backup for us, but, you know, one of my questions to LRS was, what am I getting for this? Well, the first year, it's all about getting set up and ensuring they have the equipment needed, check stock, everything else. In future years, it's mock events. So it's keeping everything fresh as part of this as well.
You know, it's kind of funny, not funny, like with what happened, it's 70 miles away here where they have their backup, which in light of the fires, that doesn't really seem far enough
Yeah.
away. It
We
almost
talked
seems like
about
it would
that.
be better if it was in another state, actually, yeah. Because, yeah, all of a sudden you don't realize how close 70 miles is.
And we-
They've been made aware of the issue, and they are working on that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, good.
I mean, cornfields don't burn in.
But even if it was
They're-
like
they're
an
more
earthquake.
geologically stable and they don't
Yeah.
have tidal.
But
they
effects.
fly
Tornado.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They take
exactly,
flights.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, I don't know,
So
anymore.
the
No.
employees have a laptop that will be away from here at all times?
Unless it's needed for work in the office, such as Judy always has hers here on board meeting days. But the directive is that it doesn't stay here in the office. It stays at home or away from the office somewhere.
Does it have to have, will each laptop have something in it that allows them to do this, or could they do it from any computer anywhere? Can you log into Pension Gold from any computer?
You can log into Pension Gold from any computer. It's just accessing the website and then having the correct credentials. These laptops are county-owned devices, and with that, they're able to access county systems, which is oftentimes needed for doing other day-to-day work. You know, processing payments for vendors, accessing the county's payroll system to look up information for employees, those kinds of things. That can only be done from county-owned devices. So,
I just kind of have a question. I think this is great, but just as far as LRS goes for our information security, is that basically now our only register of that information? I mean, if LRS, if they were to have an internal problem, like if they went defunct or they had employee malfeasance or anything, do we have a way to recover our data in another manner? Just,
so
like, I mean, do we have any more recent copy, or are they housing everything? I'm not sure if I'm
not,
fully clarifying this.
That's a good question.
no, I think I understand the question. The best answer I can give you right now is I don't know.
Okay.
All right, number 3.
But we'll
Yeah,
find
number
out.
3, okay.
We'll find out for sure. You know, I know they do
That's
nightly
C.
backups of all their data.
See.
Um,
I'm just thinking if they're backing up, I'm, without knowing how their backup works, that's just what I'm
Right.
not sure.
No, it's a good question. So, I'll find out.
All right.
Okay. We covered the Pension Gold secure system.
I believe we need a motion on this.
I would move to
I'll second.
approve.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we're on to 9, which is investment matters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have the monthly flash report from Callan in your materials. This is a preliminary look at the end of fiscal year numbers. The return will end up being, we expect, a little bit higher because we don't have the quarterly number for the retirement or for the real estate yet. Once we get that, that 9.267, I can't pull up the number.
9.26?
We expect it to be just a little bit higher than that, but it's higher than 7. That's the key factor. So
They're all higher than 7.
so we had another good year. We're happy about that. reflecting on the investments of the past year, we've made some pretty significant changes to the portfolio, trimmed the manager lineup significantly. I participate in a survey every year with a large organization for the investment world, and just did our fiscal year-end survey yesterday. And last year I had reported that we had 13 domestic equity managers. This year we have 8. So getting some consolidation in that space. Our international managers did go up by 1, but I'll let that slide. So good returns. We feel good about the investment program, and just keep chopping wood.
Okay, any questions or comments? So now we're on to administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, you have the report before you. I do want to, and there are a number of attachments to the report as well. The quarterly trustee education report and training report is normally on the consent agenda, but I pulled it from there and put it on my report because we have trustees that have been to trainings that are not getting credit on this report because we have nothing on which to state that you received the training. So SACers will sometimes send us a report of what sessions you attended for their conferences, but if they don't send us that, we don't have anything unless you fill out the conference evaluation form. So please make sure you do that. We would like for you to get the credit that you deserve for attending a training event.
Question, what happens if a board member doesn't get their 24 hours in? They get
I'll kicked off the board.
Yeah.
The statute, my understanding is the statute says you have to get 24 hours.
And that's all they say.
And that's all they say.
What if you learn a lot in here?
Which we do.
You get credit for some of the things that Callan does, right?
Yes, if there's, we always make sure that if Callan's here giving a presentation that's not, a monthly report, a quarterly report, or something specific to asset allocation and those kinds of things, but more of an education, we always give you credit for those. And if Siegel's, if anyone else is here doing an educational presentation, the trustees that are here absolutely get credit for that. So.
I see one was when the CEO from Sonoma County was here.
Yes,
We all
yeah,
had
when
one.
Jim Thaler was here, we made sure, because that was an educational presentation. That absolutely should count, so.
What's always confusing is when do we start counting again for the next 24
Yeah.
hours?
January
It's a-
1 of 2019, right?
I believe that's it, yes. It's a 2-year
I
odd year.
gotta go to November 2nd. I've been
So,
slacking.
Or you could borrow some from Catherine.
Well, I
Next
can
question.
do that. Could you
I'm just looking at your list. No,
Yeah.
you can keep
I
it.
could probably use some of my
The
TTC.
next item is
Well,
the,
before we,
yes.
just, Markets Group has one of their one-day conferences on investing at the Sonoma Mission Inn. I think it's December 6th. I think Judy might have sent that out. But if you haven't been to a Markets Group conference, they're very good, and it's a close one, and you can do it in a day, and Sonoma Mission Inn's a nice place. But anyway, they do a really great job on their programs. They're mostly providers, and so it's maybe 40% trustees and 60% top-notch people. Just really good.
Very good. Moving on to the plan frequently asked questions. As I started working on this, this was originally, it's on the work plan as the plan at a glance document. And that was intended to provide some background and information for trustees to be able to answer the questions that we hear so often when we're out in public. And so I did some searching and I found this list of questions from a group that's affiliated with the California Policy Center. And if you're aware of who they are, you know exactly what I was thinking here. But the California Policy Center has been characterized as an anti-public employee pension group. So I thought, what better way to start addressing the issues than just take on the questions that our critics think are so damning for us.
Where are the answers?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. You give us questions.
This is the first, I wanted to put the questions out there.
To make us feel ignorant.
No, to make sure that I get all of the questions that you want answered. And then start working on the answers.
That's great.
So
Hard questions.
I didn't want to just assume that I knew what all the questions should be. I wanted to hear from you if you have any thoughts of, well, I hear this question some, add that to the list. So if you have any, you can give those to me or you can shoot me an email or whatever. But I am working on the answers to some of these. And they are intentionally pointed and they come with a tone, although I've edited the questions a little bit. But the strategy was very much, I'm not going to run from this. I'm going to go, run into the fire to address the issues.
I think it's basically a test. I mean, each of us as trustees should be able to go down this list and answer all these questions. And if we don't, then we need
More board education.
We need more education because these are the questions that it's our test.
Yeah.
I also wanted to, when we first talked about this plan at a glance document, it was thrown out, we need a 3 or 4 page primer. And when I came across this list of questions and added some, and I've got almost 3 pages of questions, it's going to be a lot longer than 3 or 4 pages once I answer all these. But it's a very complex subject. There aren't easy answers for a lot of these. And some of these questions obviously aren't just MCERA questions, they're more general questions, but I think it would be good for us to know the answers to these.
We probably have the FAQs and then you have the not so FAQs. But you ought to know this.
Yes, and this, we may have this on the website, but it's, I've called it plan FAQs or something like that because it's talking about the overall plan and our structure and everything else rather than a member FAQ because those are very, very different. So.
And I think once you answer all of these, we could pull out some more significant ones or most significant ones and create a shorter document as well.
Yes.
I mean, some
Absolutely.
of them, to me, I can't imagine they're frequently asked, like, is the county a general law or a home rule?
I recognize the few.
Which is it? General law.
Yeah,
General.
Is it a technically general law or a charter? I didn't know.
No, we're general law.
It's not a charter, kind
We're general.
No, not us, but I thought that were the two choices, charter.
Right.
Oh, home rule,
Yeah,
yeah, it could
charter
be
is
charter
a
right
rule.
instead of home rule. I agree with what Kathy, it does seem like if it gets too long and complicated, people may shut down and not read it at all.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of nice if there were some of the, but like you're saying too, it's not for the members, this is talking about the plan. So anybody who's really interested should be the people that are reading this, which, they may want to read 8 or 10 pages.
I'll have it on my cell phone handy.
There you go.
Yeah, just keep it moving.
What's your question? Wait, let me find it. Here's your answer.
As I saw them, I'll answer that. The first answer is, it depends. Every single one of them depends on something.
Yes.
General question.
Largely it does.
Did you go to law school?
No. No. Don't ever.
So if you have any thoughts on this list of questions or suggestions, feel free to, I'm open to taking those in whatever means works for you. The September board meeting on the coast, we've got a location.
Jerry wanted to go today.
Yeah.
Especially when it's gonna be 107 today,
Yeah.
that's why.
But it's
Jerry asked
foggy.
Kathy to pick her up because I didn't want to drive to the coast by myself.
car melted in the parking lot.
The attached is a reciprocity policy that is similar to, we have a service retirement policy. It's a staff policy on our website available for members to see, and it provides information for our members as what the deadlines are, what's required, how to go about getting retired, those types of
I think
things.
that's good.
Here, we've put together a policy on reciprocity, outlining critical dates and information that our members need to know.
And this will go up on the website?
Yes, yes,
Great.
Good job.
yes. It's not on the website yet because it references an administrative hearing policy that did not yet exist until 20 minutes ago. So, but at the end of later today, it will go up on the website. And we do expect there will be an adjustment period where people will need to learn what's required, but the administrative hearing process provides a way to address those types of issues. You know, it's not for example, when an employee separates from the county tells us that their separation date was the end of that pay period. Whether they left on the first day of the pay period or the last day of the pay period. The county tells us it's the last day. And one of the things that we've been pushing is responsibility to the member and the employer for understanding their plan and the provisions of it. So if a member leaves Mendocino County and goes to another plan and seeks to establish reciprocity, if their membership date at the new plan, if they leave on Friday, the first Friday of the pay period, and start Monday at the new plan, then there is overlapping service, and that makes the member ineligible for reciprocity.
Oh.
Oh, you're kidding.
So what county,
But-
what county,
Third rail.
what county departments providing you that information? Is it HR, is it auditors?
That comes over in the data transmittal from the auditor's office.
That's the auditor's
Via
office.
IS. However, and through our program of putting more responsibility on the members and the plan sponsors, they're responsible, the plan sponsor is responsible for the data until it hits our door, and then we become responsible for it. If we deny reciprocity because of an overlap, the member has the ability to appeal that, and if they produce a personnel transaction that shows a separation date prior to their membership date at the other plan, then we have the ability to grant the member's request and change their membership date. We just need a process to do that,
Good.
because we don't want to be going in and changing data willy-nilly.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question. So does that information from the auditor's office also create an inaccurate data point for the association for someone's service with the county? You know, saying that they worked there through the end of the pay period versus, say, the first day of the pay period?
so it depends.
Deep.
So the contributions that come to the retirement system are either for the full pay period or for none of the pay period. We don't receive partial contributions. So if a member works 3 days in the pay period and there's enough pay for them to make the full 2 weeks contributions, those are made, and they get credit for that full 2 weeks because we received contributions. Doesn't matter how long they worked, they made the contributions for the full 2 weeks, so they get that service credit. part of the reason for wanting a process to change a separation date is if we go in and change a separation date, I'm taking away service credit from a member. Even if it's for days, we're taking that away by changing their date. So I felt like we needed some process for that. Does that answer the question?
I don't understand how someone would make enough contribution in, say, 3 days to equal 2 weeks worth of service.
So if it's a PEPRA member, they're paying 7.5% of their biweekly salary. If you work 3 days, you've made more than 7.5% of your biweekly salary, so contributions are remitted to the Retirement Association. It's for dealing with people that have leave without pay for part of a pay period and that kind of thing, but that's the way the system works. The contributions are all or nothing for us.
I think it's really good that we're cleaning this up because I know this has been confusing for people. Because different county departments treat your date of separation differently for different purposes, like the day they kill access to your computer system, various accounts. So some people you talk to at HR or the auditor's office may have a different date, saying that it was your day of separation, basically. So I know it's hard. I know someone that was familiar with the reciprocity requirement and still struggled to figure out whether she was going to meet it, and I don't even know if she did, but you could be aware of this and still struggle to meet all the requirements.
We're really trying to push the communication, and there's an email going out sometime this week reminding our members that are county employees that if they have questions, they need to call us. We've been seeing a number of members come in with my friend, my coworker, my manager, whatever, told me XYZ about retirement. Is that really the way it is? Far too often the answer is, no, it's not that. It's more like this. So trying to encourage our members to call us with questions. And definitely don't rely on not just anyone other than us, but don't rely on CalPERS, because some members are calling CalPERS to make sure that it's okay, failing to check with us and finding themselves in a situation where something's at jeopardy.
Okay, Richard, Catherine, then Jerry.
So perhaps you can furnish us in the next meeting an example of retiring with reciprocity and that same person with the same service times at 2 agencies not getting reciprocity. So
Okay.
you could see what the problem might be for somebody. And then in my mind, there's this little back door for lessening an agency's liability by not changing the date of separation or by not telling an employee, you can't work for both of us at the same time, you're screwed. So is there anything at a higher level other than our policy that would address that?
So the 37 Act has a clear list of requirements for establishing reciprocity. You can only accrue service in one system at a time. There can be no overlap in service. The break-in service can be no more than 180 days.
Or it's a PEPRA situation? Or is it
180 days, period. If there's a break-in service between two reciprocity eligible systems that's more than 180 days, you cannot establish reciprocity. 180 days is required. If you have reciprocity, you have to maintain that. You can't, so if someone comes into MCERA with reciprocity and then turns around and withdraws their money from the previous retirement system, that severs their reciprocity. you have to, if you have reciprocity, you have to retire from all of the systems
Same date.
on the same date, which can be a Herculean coordination effort,
Yes.
especially if CalPERS is involved. So there are a number of requirements in the law for reciprocity. And there are, as you would expect, there are systems that interpret the overlapping service variably. There are some, CalPERS is set in stone what your membership date is and what your separation date is. I'm aware of another 37 Act plan that has a policy that says we will move your membership or separation date by up to 12 weeks to accommodate reciprocity. So,
Catherine and Jerry.
Well, I just wanted to comment that I attended a presentation at SACRS on reciprocity and walked away from that very dissatisfied. And when I read this, it was like, thank you, because it clarified, you know, it's very clear. It's not, I don't know if it was the presenter or what, but it was on a board and it was going back and forth between CalPERS and 1937 Act and just boom, boom, boom. And it was like, well, it's too much.
it's our hope that this policy explains it. It also gives us very clear guidance at the staff level of what it is we're going to do and why. And we can explain it to our members, so.
This will be a featured article in your newsletter. Right?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
My question then goes the next step. You've done a wonderful job in putting so much of what we do into policy format. So do we have a policy manual, a hard copy policy manual accessible to our members? Is there something that we would get maybe annually to take a look at what's here? This is how MCERA does it?
So, short answer is no, we don't have anything like a policy manual. All of our policies are available on our website. The board policies are all, there's a separate tab on the major tab on the website, board policies, that outlines all of those. This type of policy is a procedural policy. So I implement that policy. That's on the website under benefit overview and information, or there's a tab about explaining the benefits, and the service retirement policy is on that page, and this policy will also be on that page. But we don't have anything printed. I'm not a big fan of printing things. It is on the work plan for us to work on a member's handbook.
Okay.
But that's been on the work plan for a while, and it keeps getting pushed out.
Back.
But it is there. We do want to get to that. We've just got higher priority items that have supplanted that for now.
Gotcha.
So,
Tim?
We have reciprocity with San Luis Obispo and San Francisco, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
They're technically not 37 Act counties, but they're not PERS. And they're not on the list here, is what I saw.
I thought we don't have reciprocity with them, too.
Yeah, they're charter counties that started their own policy, and they're very close to 37 Act, but not completely. So if I were an employee coming in and I looked down the list and said, well, I worked at San Luis Obispo County, we weren't in PERS, I guess I don't qualify. Could there be some notification about those two counties?
So my understanding is those two counties are included under any plan with reciprocity with CalPERS established.
Right,
But yes, we could absolutely, I'll just put in some bullets there, such
or
as,
parentheses or something,
Yeah.
because somebody looking at this and not knowing has to go a step
Okay.
further to find out what.
The only thing I would say, my dad was a police officer in San Francisco, and at times there's been tension, I thought, between PERS in San Francisco. I know there are issues with people transferring, so I would just worry about putting something in there. If I don't want to be telling people that it's okay. If right now they have reciprocity, that's great, but I'm not sure it's always been like that.
okay.
I don't know.
As far as I know, we always have.
Okay.
I'll check and we can make that change. That's straightforward, easy to do.
You're the investment consultant.
We're hurriedly working on the investment consultant RFP. Stan's been putting in a lot of time and effort trying to get it done before he becomes much less available to do work around here for a while. Stan's on baby watch.
I was gonna
I was
say,
gonna say, is he having a
coming?
baby?
Oh, congratulations.
Next week is the
Next
due
week,
date. So.
yeah.
Oh, wow. How close will they be in age?
Almost exactly 3 years.
Perfect.
Yeah, so.
So we'll be sending that out to the trustees later this week for your review and comments, and then our plan is to release that August after the board meeting and start moving down that road. You have the legislative report. I don't have any comments on anything there, and I hope you don't have any questions.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
That's the edited list again. I took out everything that's dead or was actually enacted last year in 2017. So, and then I just throw out the question. It's not on our work plan about any legislative proposals, but I did get an email from Sackers that if we want to do that, the time is now. So throw that out there.
Well, it's really interesting. Thank you for including that. I really appreciate it.
So has there been any questions or discussions about AB 1912 in regard to JPA's retirement liabilities
There is
by
something.
administrators?
I'm not aware of any discussion at the administrator's level about
More of
that
an
bill.
agency problem.
It's more. I see it as more of an agency problem. I don't know for sure, but I have this vague recollection that maybe that's a CalPERS bill.
It is
Because
CalPERS bill.
there have been JPAs that have dissolved and the contracting agencies have tried to walk away from the liabilities of those, and that creates very significant issues.
Actually, what I think the bill says is it creates liabilities that aren't currently there.
Okay.
So if a JPA is run without retirement systems attached to them, this would make it so JPAs are required to participate.
Okay.
Which is, for an area like this county, scary.
Well, thanks for the administrative report. General board member discussion. I just want to thank James for giving a presentation, I think since our last meeting at Fort Bragg Rotary. I was there also, and good questions there at the Fort Bragg Rotary, at least a few good questions. Seemed to be a little preoccupied with things like cake and a couple other things during his presentation.
Works every time.
That happens.
I didn't bring the cake, but it's a good strategy.
And then afterwards, he gave a presentation, Pension 101, to the social service workers in Fort Bragg. I don't know how many people were there.
Oh, there were 15 or so there.
Oh, really?
And then the next day I did the Health and Human Services offices in Willits, and then the 2 offices here in Ukiah. So had good turnout all the way around.
You know, the suggestion, the realtors groups, you know, they seem to get together pretty regularly, or at least they used to, and have lunches.
Okay.
With the bar association.
Tim can go with you.
Actually, you were mentioned, we started the new year in Rotary, and our new president thought you were not treated fairly when you were there last time, so he wants to have you back with maybe a different crowd.
Oh, I had no problems with the questions.
We made them check their guns at the door.
Actually, it makes those things exciting when you're treated like that. Livens your life up.
I am not, I'm not scared of the questions.
Yes, right.
I've even reached out to other groups to offer up,
Good,
yeah, that one.
yeah,
Uh,
good.
If you want me to, I'm happy to come speak. So just let me know.
Well, I suggested we wait until the actuarial report comes out later in the fall, and you'll have some
Right.
updated information.
Makes sense.
Okay, any other board member items? Okay, then at 11:35, we're gonna adjourn.
All right,
Very good.
Great.
and we shall stay.
We have not had enough fun yet.
No, no.